course, he's taking her pictures. Revenge porn is the act of sharing sexually explicit images or videos of a person without that person's consent. In many cases, the images are acquired by a partner while in a relationship and then distributed without consent after the breakup. And that is something to think about. And as you know, there was a landmark decision earlier this week. Two attorneys sat on our set as well as Teresa Ho, and they were speaking about the situation. She basically stood up and blazed a trail in as it relates to leading the way in this matter. Now, it's the first of its kind. Lendell Simmons, obviously well-known cricket personality. But since then, a number of similar cases have erupted. And we all know of the case of Ania Youngchi. She's never come out and commented on the matter. And I think, but there was a situation recently where she actually stood up for another individual that it happened to. And this particular young lady is contemplating legal action as well to stand up for her rights. But this act of, you know, all's fair in love and war, and when we break up, well, that's the end of that. It's kind of like destroy what you no longer have. Daryl Joseph. Good morning, Daryl. How are you?
Morning, Hima. I'm fine, thanks. Nice to be here again.
Night has been a while.
Yeah.
How have you been?
Mr. Chair, good. Everything's set fine. Yeah, I'm good.
The issue of revenge porn is now dominating the national headlines. Why is this happening?
Okay,
why is it? We just can't get along at the end of this breakup.
Yeah, well, you know, flavor of the month, all right? This is what's happening right now, and we happen to pick it up because, you know, it's in the public domain. But it's another example of the whole issue of cyberbullying, which has become a problem not just in Trinidad and Tobago, but worldwide. It's a breakdown from the social media and the pervasiveness of it and how it's sort of infiltrated our homes and our personal lives and the way we interact and the audience that we have, you know. I often joke that everybody now is a potential celebrity, everybody's a potential paparazzi.
That is true.
So you find now that whereas in past times, before we had this pervasiveness and so with social media and access through devices, if people broke up and they were angry with each other, they might tell their former partner's friends or their social circles as a means of sort of getting back at them. But the audience now, the potential audience now has gone from immediate social circles to practically the entire world. And I think that's part of the attraction of doing it through social media.
Do we realize the implications of this? Because even in the court case, Lendell said it started off where he shared it with some of the boys on the cricket team.
Yeah. No, I still don't think we get it. We don't understand. We still don't understand that if we record this conversation here, somebody in China tomorrow morning could be looking at this and could be, you know, investigating the people that they see and finding out more about them because, you know, there's more material out there. So in a real sense, you are continuously exposed, or there's the potential anyway for you to be exposed to the entire world.
Now that this is happening with the act of cyberbullying, and even with the case of Nikita Cornwall, who, her name is out in the public domain anyway, she said that she took her phone to a particular place to repair. She believes, and this is she alleges, that the persons in the store took the images. Ania Youngchi also said that her images were taken when she took the computer to repair.
Yes.
That need to take and start off as a joke, but you basically destroy someone in the process. What is life like after that for the both individuals? It's
terrible. It's terrible because, as I said, you're not just dealing now with being embarrassed when you go out among the people that you normally would see and that you know. You now have become a public figure, number one, and the embarrassment is everywhere. You don't know who knows and who has seen from who doesn't see. And for the person who experiences it, because of that paranoia that is generated by not knowing who knows, you feel alienated, isolated, frustrated, sometimes sad, depressed. Listen, people have committed suicide. Not in Trinidad, thank God, but in other parts of the world. There have been people who've committed suicide out of things like this because of the amount of shame and embarrassment that it has generated. Especially where, in the case like where you carry it to the store, you don't know who actually put the photos out.
Yeah, and she's still up to this day. You can't say if it is the store that did it or not. So you have no idea how it happened.
So that adds to the frustration as well, because if you can label somebody, if you can identify a perpetrator and you can take action against them, there's a sense of justice, a sense of satisfaction. You may, get over it. But in a case where you can't even point your finger, it's just somebody within that cloud of people there, you don't have the opportunity to resolve the situation in any satisfactory way, and your life is changed because it's out there. I don't want to draw up things, but I mean, there have been videos of things that happened 10 years ago, very public things that happened, that went out on YouTube. The videos are still there today. There's no expiry date.
Yeah, but then how do you okay, if we're in a relationship setting and things go awry, and then one partner wants to embarrass the other because of lies and a perpetual state of hurt, you really just want to, at that immediate moment, you really don't care.
No, it's a off-the-cuff kind of reaction.
But what do you do? What do you do then? How do you protect the victims? But how do you really manage behavior like that? Someone has said, well, don't take pictures and don't do this. But that is the extreme, because I think, a lot of people hold the point, whatever happens in your bedroom is your business.
Yeah, but, the paradigm has shifted. The idea, the notion of privacy and the notion of what is public and what people have privy to, those ideas have changed. I'm not going to say that they are changing. It has changed. You have to consider now that everything that you do could possibly be recorded and you could be exposed. That's the way that you have to think, that's the sort of mindset you have to have. So my suggestion, I tell people this, if you are not comfortable with people outside of your bedroom seeing whatever pictures you might be taking, you need to consider whether you should take them at all. Let the memory linger. Let the memory linger.
Because it is sort of, I don't know if it's a vicey thing, if people think it adds a little spice in their life.
Yes.
But then that spice can be exciting. But
spice could turn to pepper.
Yes, at some points, and this is really about dealing with the fallout of it and telling people, because I know with Nikita Cornwall's case, a lot of people have come out and they've supported, and I actually feel very sorry for, because if it is that you are violated and a private moment that you enjoyed with someone is now put out for public display, and it is at no fault of you or your partner, because you don't know the situations, that's something to really, it kind of really can take a toll on you.
On the other side of things, we do need modern legislation to deal with these situations as they come up. I'm very happy to see what happened in the case with Ms. Ho. But, we need the proper legal framework as well to support the action, so that as a further discouragement for people doing this kind of thing, just allowing this, as you say, this sort of flippant, off-the-cuff kind of reaction. But my thing would be to protect yourself by not getting into that situation in the first place.
But we have sort of a double standard in our society. So everyone wants to look. So even with Anya's video, everyone looked at it. Okay, so I looked at it too. Every single person, for news values, let me just be real. But every single, and you have that sort of, that sort of gray area. So people are there looking and sharing this, and there are some people that enjoy it, but you don't realize that you are violating someone no matter what.
No, I mean, if you sit down in your room or in your office or on your phone, wherever, and you're just looking at this thing, it's just entertainment from the person who is looking at it. And, we become so insensitive towards each other that, we don't even think this is somebody who is going through pain and frustration. We don't even think that. It's just, this is entertainment. I will look at news, I look at a funny video with a cat, and I look at somebody doing something in their bedroom they didn't want to get out, and I look at something. It's all just, to the average person's entertainment. But we have to get to a higher level.
Ms. Ho really received a bashing in the public domain because of the circumstances of that particular situation. A lot of men joked about it, and a lot of insensitive comments were made, not only as it relates to that, but even with the Ms. Cornwall situation, where someone has said, well, if you're practically a porn star and that is put out in the public domain, what do you really expect? And these are the kind of comments that you hear.
Yeah, it's ignorance, huh?
It is ignorance.
Yeah, it's ignorance. So there's a need for education as well, all right? There's a need for much greater education on cyberbullying, its impact on victims and its effects, its long-term effects. People need to be sensitized to understand that when you put a video out there, you are not just putting it for you and your friends to see. You are exposing a person without their consent to the world. You could potentially be destroying a person. You're going way beyond whatever it is you might be intending to do. And that's simply education. And, just understanding that, how people are impacted, how people feel. I mean, the ironic thing is a lot of the men who make jokes and who, look down and whatnot, if it would have happened to their sister or their mother or their wife or their girlfriend, you see a completely different reaction. They become Mr. Sensitive overnight.
It's true.
So why wait until somebody, why wait until it comes home before you do something about it?
Now, when do we need to legislate to have a conscience in our society? I always make the joke, in the British system, when you talk about good behavior on boards, they look at things as you have innate character traits that make you a decent human being. So I don't need to legislate as in the US where everything is black and white. You do it, you pay the time for it. But they depend on your internal guidelines and guidance.
Yes.
What do we need in Trinidad to make? Because we are a society of fatigue. We're a society of bacchanal and we like to laugh.
Yeah. Well, I don't know why you brought that up, but that's actually a pet topic of mine right now. The whole idea that we have allowed people to think and behave in ways that, we've kind of let people go. And I think it's time that we need to take a very, very serious look at the way our people think, the way or the actions, the attitudes that people express. And I wouldn't say we need to legislate everything, but I think that we need to start to encourage the kind of behavior that we want out of our citizenry.
And the other aspect, you talk about the victims, but there's this also judgmental part of it. So in the case with Miss Ho, everyone believes that she has no right to stand up for herself because of whatever reason, because of however we judge her and whatever she does. And there are those that will tell you, like, people can do whatever they want to do in the privacy of their homes. Should we then transpose that and say, well, look at what she's doing in the bedroom, or look at what he's doing in the bedroom?
No.
And that seems to also be a thing in our society as well.
No, that's nobody's business. What you do in your room is what you do in your room.
And when you talk about the legislation itself, because it is something that is a gaping hole in the framework about this, and the victims and also those who are guilty of distributing, where does it stop? So am I supposed to say the first point of distribution, or is it every single person that has looked at this is as guilty?
No, well, I'm not a lawyer, as you know. But certainly the first point of distribution, because that's like the top of the tree, all right? So the first point of distribution, if that never happens, then nothing else happens, trickles down. So certainly at the top there, for sure.
Why do we get so much joy in seeing other people in pain?
Is it seeing other people in pain, or is it just entertainment?
And why do we get entertainment of something that is somebody's private moments? It's not like if they're in the porn business and this is out for public distribution.
Right. The quality of empathy is a human quality that you're born with the potential for it. But unlike some other characteristics which are innate in human nature, it's something that has to be nurtured and something that can grow. It depends on the kind of family you have, the kind of upbringing you have, what you see, how you've been treated. So people can become more or less empathetic as life goes on. I think what you're asking there, it speaks directly to the imbalance or the wide variance in the levels of empathy that people have. Someone who's very empathetic will not be able to look at that and not, some part of their conscience not saying,
I did, because I couldn't look. Miss Cornwall's photos were all over, and I said, this is really bad, because of the fact that this is obviously a private moment that this individual is sharing, and I really felt for her.
But that is, empathy is a quality that we're sadly lacking in our society, and it goes back to the whole thing about fatigue and giving old talk. We don't know how far to go.
And if you're in a relationship, because you have that sort of behavior as well, people can be in a relationship with someone and enjoy that private moment and whatever to spice up their sex life or whatever. But one partner feels the need to share it with other people.
No, well, it has to be that they both agree, all right? I mean, you're talking sacred space there. It has to be that they both agree. Once one person thinks so and the other person doesn't think so, you shouldn't be able to violate that sanctity.
So what advice do you have for couples? Do you say we put some rules on before we put on a video camera? What do you tell them?
Honestly, I discourage the action completely. If you are dependent on that to have a healthy sex life, maybe you need to come see me. We need to talk, because something has to be wrong, right? You can't tell me that it's dependent on that, So like an ingredient in a pot, it might make the pot sweeter for you, but maybe the risks of doing it outweigh, the whatever satisfaction there is to get from it.
And, to also the journey to initiate legal action is a traumatic one. I mean, Miss whose whole
public,
life
yeah?
was drawn out into the public
family,
domain.
children.
Every single aspect of her life, I think, is known by members of the general public. Now, what advice do you have for women or men? Because men are also victims in this, and let's also remember, because I think in that situation, they both suffered.
Yes.
And let's be a little empathetic to that, because Lendell Simmons, no matter what you believe, also, I think, suffered a lot of hurt in the process.
He's now a villain, right? He's now a big-time villain in the public's eye. Be strong, be courageous. I will understand why someone may not want to go that route in terms of having their whole life public, but, we're at a time now where we're setting a new standard and we're setting new rules, and you could be a flag bearer to save somebody else later on down the line. So if you have the courage and the tenacity and the support to do it, I would say, by all means, don't allow these actions to go unpunished.
And to the couples that, according to Daryl, make it clear whether or not, once you have a clear agreement on the use of it, I'm pretty sure that things will continue to be fine. But this is, it may be a joking matter for some, but there are people who are suffering as a result of the distribution or the illegal distribution, and people who have illegally obtained private photos. And if you are in receipt of it, try to have a little bit of conscience. This is someone's sister, someone's brother, this is someone's, child, really. And you wouldn't want that to happen to your family member. So let's try to be a society with a conscience and protect all those who may be victims of this. We take a short break. Actually, no, we're going to go straight to the 7 o'clock newscast. Akash Samru is standing by, and I will see you after the news. Stay with us.